Welcome back. Just before the break, we were engaging Kauna Schroeder, who's the project manager at the Ministry of Environment, speaking to us about the ministry's national multi-stakeholder engagement that they'll be hosting from the 26th to the 27th of January. Kauna, we appreciate your time. And just before the break, we were speaking about the ministry's, primary objectives for this engagement.
Thank you, Nina, for time, and thank you to the viewers as well. I would like to start off by reminding us that Namibia is a country that is marked by its climate, its rich biodiversity, and its diverse cultural heritage that faces acute vulnerability to environmental shocks and disasters. And the intersection, for starters, of environmental stewardship and gender mainstreaming has become central to the nation's strategy for building resilience, as articulated in the 6th National Development Plan, and also related to some policy frameworks. Now, for the Ministry of Environment and Tourism to engage in this type of stakeholder engagement is because we are a focal point to so many conventions that basically speak and respond to this, not only on international level, but also on a national level. And therefore, our objective for this is basically to make sure that in terms of state resilience, shocks and disasters, as it is anchored in its vision to become a resilient, inclusive and sustainable middle income country, Namibia that is, by 2030. That is the vision that we have. And with that vision, we have inculcated, or the country has inculcated into the 6th National Development Plan, 4 foundational pillars that touches on economic growth, that touches on transformation and resilience, that touches on human development and community resilience. So environmental sustainability and effective governance and public service delivery, those are issues that really borders on this discussion. And so the ministry's primary objectives for stakeholder engagement on this is just to make sure that we foster cross-sectoral collaboration in order to ensure that we address the interconnected risks of, be it climate change, be it biodiversity loss and socioeconomic vulnerability, but also to look at how best can we advance a national framework for integrated resilience that balances environmental, social and economic policies, just to mention a few, but most importantly also to mobilize resources and knowledge for effective implementation.
What institutional reforms then, or coordination, mechanisms does the ministry propose to strengthen environmental governance at national and local levels?
Basically, what needs to happen at national levels is to make sure that decentralization is of course a core strategy for improving public service delivery and resilience at the local level. Looking at regional and local authorities that are mandated to align their strategic and annual plans with the NDP6, of course supported by capacity development initiatives. Under the ministry, we have what we call the National Committee on Rio Conventions. That is a platform that provides for aligning commitments under the different Rio conventions, the UNFCCC Convention on Biological Diversity and the convention that deals with drought and desertification, that fosters interministerial dialogue and policy coherence. We also know that, or need to know that, the National Planning Commission is responsible for coordinating the implementation, the monitoring and the evaluation of the NDP6. And so these are important measures or platforms that we can use to make sure that Namibia's governance framework for state resilient shocks and disasters is characterized by a multi-layered cross-sectoral approach. And these mechanisms that are in place just need to be further enhanced. Of course, there are challenges and opportunities that comes with this, but those are the issues that we would want to discuss at this stakeholder engagement meeting.
How will gender considerations then be integrated into policy design, planning and implementation to ensure that women and vulnerable groups benefit equitably, Kauna?
It's important for us to understand the dynamics of gender mainstreaming into everything that we are doing, and not only gender mainstreaming, but also social inclusion. We need to look at integrating gender into planning and implementation. Namibia has made significant strides in mainstreaming gender into policy development and climate change policies. We have the National Gender Policy 2010 through 2020, and which is currently under revision, and the forthcoming Climate Change Gender Action Plan that that provides strategic frameworks in integrating gender across different sectors. So to shortly respond to your question, it's important that gender responsive planning and budgeting is taken into consideration in order to ensure that we strengthen accountability mechanisms and integrate gender indicators into our monitoring frameworks. It's important that we look at capacity development for gender focal points in order to ensure that we enhance the skills and resources for gender mainstreaming at national and subnational levels. But most importantly, promoting women's leadership. We know that gender does not only speak about women, but it is critical that we talk about promoting women's leadership and then look at legal reforms that mandate 50% gender representation in conservancy leadership and efforts that are underway to increase women's participation in decision-making processes. Namibia is doing extremely good in that, but there is an opportunity for us to find ways how best we can improve on that. We have initiatives such as the Women Economic Empowerment Program that give support for income generating activities. And such initiatives and activities are really helpful in terms of gender responsiveness.
Kauna, just your final remarks on the engagement as we round off our discussion?
Final remarks on the discussion. I would want to really encourage us to understand that when we talk about state response to shocks and disasters, that this is when we reflect back on the news that you just highlighted, Chile talking about wildfires, South Africa, Mozambique going through floods. I mean, we recently had wildfires in Namibia that we dealt with. These are issues that really truly impact our communities. And if we don't come together as a nation in order to look at how best we can prioritize this and look at how we can transition from whatever recommendations we normally have in our discussions into action and make sure that Namibia's ecosystem-based adaptation approach projects that relates to these issues are taken into consideration, then we will miss what we are trying to achieve. So our efforts, national efforts on environmental stewardship and gender mainstreaming for SRSD, they are really characterized by a comprehensive integrated approach. We haven't touched on health, but pandemics are also part of these issues, and finances are also part of these issues. If we talk about shocks and disasters, it's not only the climate change issues, but economic shocks, health issues, pandemics, and so forth. So in conclusion, I really want to thank you, and I want to really leave the nation and the viewers with this message that if Namibia has a robust foundation for advancing its resilience agenda, it will ensure that environmental, social, and economic priorities are balanced and that no one is left behind. So with that being said, thank you very much for having us to share this, and we encourage people to join us on the 26th and the 27th of January at the Windhoek Country Club, and the Prime Minister will be the keynote speaker with Ministers of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, as well as Minister of Health and Social Services and the Governor of the Bank of Namibia as key speakers at the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was Madam Karen Schroeder, who is the projects manager at the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, speaking to us there. We'll be right back.